All right, thank you for tuning back into Paying for Attention. Today, we are going to be talking about the number one metric e-commerce brands need in order to scale. I'm Daniel Danneberg, and I'm here with our host, Keegan Brown. So let's get things going.
Paying for attention.
All right, Keegan, let's talk about the number one metric e-commerce brands need in order to scale. What are some of the most important factors that we're seeing in growing e-commerce brands?
Yeah, so I mean, we're going to be talking about a couple, but I think one of the most important ones, and it's one that we speak to hundreds of e-commerce brands over the last a few years, and lifetime value is something that I think brands still need to know, understand, and utilize to really scale their brands. And so today we're just going to be talking about why it's important, how to do it, and how to grow your revenue once you have it.
Cool. So tell us a little bit more, especially about like brands that have a lot of products that people love. Obviously people will keep coming back and they'll purchase. So that's important to know why there's people coming back and bringing revenue in. But tell us a little bit more about how to understand kind of like what a profitable cost per acquisition is.
Yeah, well, I think one thing you touched on is that people don't just usually buy from a brand once.
Right.
If that's the case, it's pretty easy to find your LTV. It's that one purchase, so then you're good. But as we know, and as you probably are in your personal life, you probably have a couple brands, whether it's clothes or food or music, anything like that, or technology, obviously. You probably buy several times throughout your lifetime with them. And so it's important to know how much, those people are worth in terms of revenue, how much revenue they're bringing in for your business. But this also starts to help you understand what a profitable cost per acquisition is, and really understanding, how much you can put into your ad campaigns and what your break-even point is and how much you need to actually spend to get a customer, and knowing that it's going to be profitable over the lifetime. So when you're running ads, and let's just say you're breaking even on Google Ads, but you're only acquiring new customers, are you profitable? Right? It's maybe, probably, assuming that a portion of those people are coming back and purchasing later on, whether it's the same product or it's accessories for that product or service and maintenance for that product.
Yeah.
They're coming back and spending more money with you. You've already acquired them once. You've already paid for that. Now you're just making profit every time they come back and purchase, for the most part.
Yeah. So what about customer retention? How do we deal with that?
Well, yeah, I think that's to the point of, when people are coming back and purchasing, you're putting likely money into your marketing to email them, to have your sales team give them a call, to do certain sales and promotions to those customers, right? And so you can kind of get an understanding of how much money you should be putting into your customer retention, and actually being able to measure that. And I think that's really important. A lot of people, I know we, will do certain things for our current clients, and whether it's doing some value add work for free, or anything like that, or spending some extra time, really helps grow that lifetime value, and we can actually measure how much we should be putting into that for each one of our clients, and people should be doing that for their customers. And so they know that, hey, we're spending way too much money on our email platform or our email service or whatever, or whatever you're doing, and being able to just shift that budget back into acquiring new customers.
See, I knew you had a little bit more. That's why you're talking about repeat customers. I got to use that keyword retention.
Yeah.
All right, good. So that begs the question, how? How do you get your LTV for
Yeah.
your e-commerce site? How do you get it going?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think this is can get a little technical, so please bear with me. But if you're using Shopify or like WooCommerce, they kind of give you an overall LTV, and the most simple way to do that is take all the revenue that you've made and divide it by the number of customers, of unique customers that you have, and that would give you a number, right? But what we found is that that's not super accurate based on several different factors. So one of the things that we're going to do here is there's a lot of different models to actually calculate your lifetime value within your e-commerce site. But one of the easy ones that we can get started with is first download your customer data. Let's do some spreadsheet work here, and basically what you want to start doing is numbering each one of your customers on a scale. Could be 1 to 3 or 1 to 5, and the different factors that you want to look at is how many orders. So there's going to be a certain amount of people who've only ordered once, a certain amount of people who've ordered between 2 and maybe 5 times, and a certain amount of people who've ordered maybe 5 plus or 5 to 10. You can keep going on based on what your data is telling you. The total revenue, because not all orders are equal, right? There's different average order values. So the total revenue that customer has actually given you or made you. And then the recency of their last purchase. So keeping that in mind, especially when you look at from their very first purchase. And that starts to give you an idea of your repeat purchase rate, as well as just consumer behavior within your own customers. How often are they buying? What are they buying? Is it always the same or average order value? Is it, do they buy something this month and they buy 3 things next month and they buy 1 thing next month? What products get them in and actually keep them coming back? So there's a lot of data you can pull from this. And sorry to get off of the tangent, but basically the recency of the last purchase is the other ranking. And from here, what you're going to do is create a weighted average of those rankings and start to segment them into low, average, and high LTV groups. And this will start to tell you, okay, the people who are buying, maybe the least amount of orders, the least amount of revenue or average order value, and maybe their last purchase was over a year ago, and that's not very recent, right? So that's your low group, and maybe they're worth an LTV of $100. But then your middle one, they're buying a handful of times. They are purchased in the last 6 months, and their average order value is slightly higher than the other group. Their LTV is maybe $225. And then you got your high ones who maybe purchase a lot of every month, or they're huge quantities, right?
Yeah.
And maybe their recency is pretty recent. Maybe their LTV is more in like the $600 or $700 range. That starts to give you an idea of those different groups and how to segment them.
What about, I'd hate to take this on a little sidebar real quick, but you talk about ranking or scaling, your customers between 1 to 3 or 1 to 5, and seeing a little bit more information about that. But with this sidebar, is there more audience information you could actually gather from that, like demographics and things like that, to actually use to target again, to build up more clientele like that?
Definitely. I think, there's always going to be some limitations with the platform that you're using. So the default kind of customer data that you're going to get from a WooCommerce or Shopify is going to be a little limited, but there are ways that you can start to add in there, especially from paid media, that you can kind of filter through using UTMs and hidden form fields, but filter that through to give you channel data, to give you audience and demographic data, keyword data, and that allows you to start to match your LTV by persona. You probably already have some good ideas of how that's working and what your persona's actually LTV is, but this helps kind of match and be data backed completely, and starts to you thinking of ideas of how to, and we're getting a little bit ahead here, but to use that data to actually change your marketing for those different audience segments.
Awesome. Now, what about things like a lot of e-commerce sites have seasonal?
Yeah.
Right? They're seasonal. So there's sales around like Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and all other types of holidays. How do we factor in seasonality?
Yeah, that's a great question. So what's really cool about this is when you're doing this type of analysis, you can pull, and part of the analysis, pulling first-time customers. You kind of have to see their first time that they purchased, and what you'll probably see, especially like you said, a lot of e-commerce brands get maybe 20 to 30% of their revenue, in the holidays between November and December, and because of that, they're probably seeing a lot of new customers during that time, right? First time purchasers, they just heard about the brand, and or maybe they just figured that now is the right time to buy from them. And so they see a lot of first time purchasers throughout that time. And so what's really cool is being able to see uh, during each kind of seasonal cycle, how many first time purchases are you getting, how many new are you acquiring, and then the next year being able to actually look back and say how many of them that we how many new customers that we acquired in November and December actually came back and purchased again. Is that worth it? Was that ROI worth it from the ad for the budget we put towards ads in November and December? And that's a really fun way to kind of look and see that growth over several years, um, and really using that data for the people who didn't come back and purchase. Ask them why not. Was this a gift for somebody that you don't buy for very often? Is it is it because it's you're an expensive luxury product that they maybe can only afford once a year, and you can do a lot with this, and you can upload that list to like a Facebook and target, or display campaign, and target those people with a specific offer to come back and get their second purchase. You can do the same thing with emails, and like I said, you can use a survey to ask them why they haven't come back yet, and say, hey, did you not like our product? Was it too expensive? Was this just a gift for someone? And that really helps you get some feedback on your product and your marketing. And the one key thing there is don't email or reach out too early, because what you want to do is understand that repeat purchase rate we were talking about earlier, and say, okay, most people are purchasing every 6 months, so you probably want to wait maybe more like 8 or 9 months before you reach out to them and say, why haven't you purchased it? You don't want to do that month 3 when they're like, hey, it hasn't even been time yet. So
Yeah.
So let's talk about a few takeaways that people can take away with them.
yeah. So the first one is, if you don't know your LTV, your repeat purchase rate, or have any way to really track first-time customer data, reach out. Megathos can help you, and several other agencies. But also, there's plenty of tools and software out there. There's Shopify plugins that you can utilize to get some of this data. But really being able to take this data, not only get that metric, right, but understanding the different segments, how to use that, and having an agency to actually get you to grow your sales and your revenue, because you're able to now target those repeat customers or bring back those first time, one time purchasers, and then actually segment those different audiences to your personas. That's really the big key there. That's important, and what an agency like Megathos can do for you. And really, the next one is really just don't use this data just to give to your investors. We work with a lot of e-commerce brands that are trying to get funding. Don't just give this to your investors and file it away with all of your other reports. Use this data, like I said, to more granularly segment your customers. Use for lists such as like emails or ads. Really improve your marketing, grow your customer retention, improve your higher average order values, and maybe get some feedback on your product and brand. And one cool thing that we've seen too is anytime you have that spike in sales, like a holiday season, go back and actually look at the lifetime value of the customers that you acquired during that time. Other things could be a Super Bowl ad. You spend millions of dollars on a Super Bowl ad, you probably get a ton of traffic to your site, probably get a ton of first time sales or customers, but do they ever come back? That's the real ROI you really need to pay attention to. You don't want to apply an overall average LTV to a very specific spike in sales. Other things are like influencers. If you got a celebrity influencer and you get 400 sales in a day, how many of them are coming back and see was it worth paying out that influencer? I think that's all really important to take away when you actually calculate your LTV.
Very cool. This has all been great information. Is there anything else you need to share with us, or what do you think?
Well, we have one bonus takeaway. We talked about how important it is to know your customer acquisition cost. Acquiring a new customer is extremely beneficial to an e-commerce brand that's trying to scale. If you're just getting that, your branded traffic, repeat customers coming back, you're probably just wasting your ad budget. Yeah. Not completely, but it's definitely something you want to make sure you're getting, new customers. What you want to try and start doing is tracking new customer acquisition by channel. This is really key and something that I think a lot of e-commerce brands are failing at doing, and what B2B companies have really done a good job with over the last few years. And this is a way that you can actually generate new customers and LTV and know where to put your budget. Okay, we know Google is great at actually generating new customers. Let's put more money there, or maybe it's Facebook, or maybe it's SEO or email. What is it that's driving new customers to you? And that is how you can really use these metrics to scale.
See, I knew it. I knew you had a little bit more, and that's why I asked. This is great information, and thank you for that extra little bonus point there. We are thankful for everybody tuning in with this episode of Paying for Attention, and we look forward to seeing everybody next time. Thanks for turning out.